And for that, we have invited a very special guest, Miss Alino S. Chishi, who is a social worker, peace practitioner, and an associate consultant at NU Socia, all the way from Nagaland, India. She completed her graduation in Bachelor's of Art and post-graduation in social work from Northeast Institute of Social Sciences and Researches. In her professional career, she worked as an associate consultant at NU Socia. She also worked as a district coordinator at a peace channel where she worked with different stakeholders in implementation of the project and facilitated peace building programs to school, colleges, and communities. Ms. Alino S. Chishi also established a new peace club and revived 15 other peace clubs in schools and colleges in Kohima. She also facilitated annual summer camps and annual cultural festivals for more than 200 students. Currently, she is involved in a fellowship program funded by EU with Consortium of Peace Building Organizations. She also participated in various trainings associated with peace building from all over the country. Ma'am, we are truly obliged to have you here and looking forward for more such experiences and your views on our today's topic. I welcome you, ma'am, on the behalf of my whole team and Sarkari School organization. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, I would like to have Ms. Palak to speak about Sarkari School organization and its major objectives. Ms. Palak, over to you.
Thank you, Chavi. And good evening, ma'am. Good evening, all of you. This is Palak Pandey, and I am spoke about the organization. SarkariSchool.in, an initiative of the We Citizen Foundation, is devoted to create a bright future for the students in India, especially the marginalized majority, by unitedly working with eager individuals of the country in the education field, working towards the same goal. We give recognize to real-life heroes who, despite the hardship and limited resources, continue to their jobs with absolute grit and courageous. Presently, SarkariSchool.in proudly enlightening the nation about the government schools who go above and beyond to come up with unique and innovative format to make their student future ready. The platforms works to promote a government-friendly school narrative, putting spotlights on the positive aspect and considering policy matters. SarkariSchool.in religiously organize conferences and meetings to motivate and educate the people about the ongoing initiative taking place in the education sector of our country. Thank you, and over to you, Chavi.
Thank you, Ms. Palak. Now, Ms. Rainpani will tell us about our team Prerna. Ms. Rainpani, over to you.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
So, Project Preda is our creative content writing team responsible for creating stories that bring forth the work of unsung heroes working for the betterment of education in government schools. We strive to tell the stories that keep the mainstream attention, stories that speak about the positive transformation of government schools by the teachers and students with their consistent efforts. We aim to change the negative narrative built about the government schools through these stories. We intend to motivate society to develop a mindset which has an equal outlook for private and public education in schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rainpani. Everybody kindly turn on your camera so that we can have a more interesting session. Now, I'd like Ms. Lakshmi to tell us about the event. Over to you, Ms. Lakshmi.
Thanks, Chavi. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lakshmi. Here I am to tell little about today's event. As we all know, the topic of webinar is manage conflict through dialogue among families and communities. And yes, dialogue plays a very important role in our life because dialogue is a process where the participants commit to listen, reflect, and question with curious mindset in order to seek or share understanding. So today, our guest speaker will help us to know more about it. Thank you. Over to you, Shavi.
Thank you, Lakshmi. Now I request Miss Alino S. Chishi to enlighten us with her words of wisdom. Ma'am, over to you.
Hi everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Great. So, good evening to you all, and um, it's such a lovely to be here to with all. I see young people, majority of you, and it's a privilege to be part of We Citizen Foundation and also Project Preda. So it's a great pleasure to be here overall. And about me, I think Chavi have meticulously shared about all the details to all of you. So I would not introduce myself again. So moving on directly to the topic that I am going to share with all of you, which is manage conflict through dialogue among families and communities. Now, for general people, when we talk about managing conflict, I'm sure many might be thinking why there is conflict and what is the thing called dialogue and why it is important among families and communities. So today basically mostly my sharing will be based on my experience working with Peace Channel. So Peace Channel is a youth peace movement. It's an NGO in Nagaland that is promoting peace education with various institutions, schools, and colleges in the communities and among religious leaders. So this is my experience that I've worked with them. So I also work with them as a trainer. So based on my experience and understanding through my engagement with Peace Channel, I would, best of my understanding, I would like to share with all of you how to manage conflict in day-to-day life and why this dialogue tool is very important in our lives. So moving on, I would like to share a story about myself, how I started using dialogue in day-to-day life. As we all know, most of the times we undergo, certain set of despondency in our life. There are ups and downs um, in our lives because of different circumstances and situations. Our emotions, we undergo several emotions just in a day, right? And these emotions, it is interconnected, interlinked with the environment and with the people we are associated with. And so it is important to understand our emotions at first. And also, the important thing is education that we are receiving and that we are pursuing or imbibing, or that we are learning in day-to-day life. So for me, learning, the concept of peace in my life was a starting point, and also learning what is dialogue. So I would like to share with my story and experience how dialogue is making impact or bringing changes in my day-to-day conversations, or with my relationship with my friends, my family, my colleagues, and everywhere. So it's not it's a difficult process, you know. I won't lie, it's a difficult process. But when you start learning about dialogue, ways of, so dialogue is like simply means a non-violent way, you know, of managing conflict. And um, so anyone, you can type in the chat box what dialogue means to you. Okay. So one is what peace means to you, and the second is what according to you is dialogue means. So you can start writing um, on the chat box. And Chavi, I would like to take your help here in reading out some of the chats. Okay. So so
Okay, ma'am.
sure, thank you. So dialogue in my life has played predominantly starting understanding myself with myself first. There is a thing called inner peace, right? And inner peace goes hand in hand with what amount of conversation that you are having with yourself, positive affirmations. So there are a lot of times I have, even now, sometimes I sit myself with a lot of negative thoughts, you know, dealing with self-esteem, low self-esteem issues. So those are things like that. But when you put in this dialogue in your life, starting from yourself, you know, it brings out like positive affirmations, and those positive affirmations boost your mental health, not only mental health, but it gives you confidence to deal with any situations or circumstances that you are in it. Okay, so I started applying that to myself, firstly, and second, interestingly, with families. So previously, when I see myself, I have like 4 siblings, my mom, my dad, and we know 21st century's generation, we know, you know, the perceptions, the idea of life that our parents have, and it's very difficult to deal with them. I hope you can really resonate that with me, right? So yeah, so there were a lot of arguments previously. I will yell out at top of my lungs, shouting at my mom, my parents, my siblings, because there are disagreements in our perceptions, the way we view at life, right? But then starting to, you know, apply dialogue process in my life, I started understanding my family members, my siblings, as well as my parents. Now, why dialogue? Because dialogue in itself, it have like certain principles and skills like active listening, being compassionate, you know, ability to sit still and listen to others, right, without judgments or discrimination, such like that. So some values in it really help me to put it into practice. So a lot of you might be thinking like dialogue might be easy. It is not. It is not, but it is a process. So the more you put effort, the more, you know, the changes in relationship takes place. So today I can proudly say that it is still working. We're mending our relationships with, you know, around my circle, around my peers, and it is a process and it is growing. So with that, I would like to let Chavi read out if there is any response from our participants.
Not yet, ma'am.
Okay. So there is no right or wrong answer. But anyhow, moving on, I think when we talk about, you know, conflict management, it is also important to understand the meaning or definition of peace. So there is no absolute definition of peace as such, because peace, you know, differs from person to person. Right?
അമ്മ ബൈ നല്ല കാപ്പാണ് സർക്കാരില്ലേ ഇതേതോ സർട്ടിഫിക്കറ്റ് സർക്കാരിന്റെ కదా.
Okay, that would be nice to start with a conversation, to have interaction, starting with, your own understanding of peace. So we'll get back to that, and Chavi, help me with that. What is dialogue? Okay, dialogue in simple words means the conversations between two people or a group of people with some set of, guidelines or principles. So it's basically to build bridges. It's about building relationships. It's about learning. It's about knowledge. It's about learning new things between people. So just say Chavi and me, we are having a conversations, right? So Chavi might is from different background, multilingual. We are from multilingual, multi-race, multi-background, multi-region. So all of us here are from, I think, yes, we are from different region. And so based on those differences, our perceptions also differs. So in our conversations, our there will definitely be differences, right? Which Chavi might not agree with me. Right, though. So even if I'm sharing this, some of the things might not be relevant to you also. But then through this dialogue, we are building an understanding, because in day to day, in human relationship, without understanding, right, there is no trust. And when there is no trust, we know what is happening around the world. Because of trust, there are more conflicts, and conflicts ends up with violence. So I think dialogue really helps us to build bridges in understanding one-to-one person, or through this dialogue, without any judgments or discrimination. With active listening, I will hear or listen to what Chavi has in mind about peace or dialogue, right? According to her, from her context, from the environment where she grew up. So dialogue is an opportunity, for all of us, from different region, multilingual, multi-religious, coming together. So it's an opportunity to create changes, and to transform lives. And I'm sure the participants here are the individuals who are hungry for change, who are hungry for transformative changes in their life. So that is a brief idea about dialogue. Now, managing conflict, as I've mentioned earlier, I would like to share basic steps of how to process dialogue in our day-to-day life. So this model have been I always use this model in my life. This had been curated by Peace Channel, which is really interesting. Just give me a second. So by now we have this some sort of understanding that dialogue is a process of building bridges or building relationships. So what one of the ways of managing conflict is dialogue, and it has 7 steps. Okay, so before that, we have certain guidelines how to go about. The first thing is setting some sort of ground rules. Whenever you are coming in getting into dialogue with anyone, just say, just picturize or have this imagine scenario of where you are not happy with someone. Just say just say today, I happen to I was not happy with my friend, say, because she did not respond to my call, and I had an emergency, I had some emergency, right? And this have been like not just once but twice or thrice, right? My friend had been like ignoring my calls, or she was having difficulties in answering my calls, and this avoidance has really kind of disturbing my mind. There are a lot of questions like, why is she, does she hate me, or is she ignoring me, right? So that is an example I can give you here, how our thoughts take us to have. These are small examples that we undergo day to day life, be it with your siblings or with your friends or with your peers in the schools, your colleagues or whatsoever. But these assumptions, okay, to put it short, these assumptions can lead you to large amount of misunderstanding, and if it is not resolved in right time, it can lead to it will be like difficult to tempt those relationships. So what I would say is, a simple uh, steps that might help you in resolving your conflict is, maybe write a message, right? Write a message, like ask her if she is well, right? Not simply raging out, because there are instances like that. Some friends, some of my friends, um, um, yelling out or raging anger against me because of you know not simply attending to your call. So these are simple examples, but these simple things impact our life, our mental, our mental health. So moving on, the process or steps of mediation, call it mediation, or dialogue that you can put it across in your day-to-day life is, one thing is, first, introduction about um, uh, your um, introduction about your reason why you're not feeling good about certain thing. So you can slowly start with just say, just start. Let me give you a brief example of my brother. Okay, just say my brother, you know after having meal, he did not wash the plate, right? And I had to, and so it has, and that um, it was taken place for several days, and out of frustration we had some conflicts or so. So this is like incident, a real incident also. So out of anger or rage, I got angry with my brother. But then what you can do in this kind of situation is, conflict is natural, it's normal. But what you can do is, you can always go back, right, and introduce about the reason why you are angry or you are upset or you are not happy with the person. So you can introduce your feeling, saying, I felt like that because you did not do that, and I had, by giving reasons. So the second step is also discussion. So you can start with discussion, telling your brother or your any in your family, hearing from their side also, uh, hearing the side of the story, and if there is anything that could be changed. And state so um, so moving on, step 3 is clarification. So what you can do is, when you start, having this conversation or addressing these issues in your day-to-day conflicts, what you can do is ensure, the that both of you are understanding what the other person is saying, and clarify that by repeating those sentences or certain points that you think that it is important. And in the step 4, maybe you can step 4, that is rectification. So here what you can do is, both of you say like, both of us can brainstorm, say like with my brother. So we can brainstorm in the step 4 rectification. You can start brainstorming, what are the ways that we should not quarrel or fight over this same issue, right? So we can brainstorm, right? Maybe maybe I can ask brother to, if you are busy with something and you are not able to, wash your plates after meal, let me know, right? Let me, politely, because it also about, how you put in your communication. So for me, if he tells me like politely, says, I'm rushing for, my class and I'm not being able to, or I have to attend call, or I have to go somewhere, I am not being able to. So these are some set of examples where the patterns of communication that you accept, and slowly you start brainstorming, you hear from the other person, right? As well, and slowly you start rectifying those errors, so that this same issue will not raise again, and there will be no argument or fight between siblings or between families. So I'm giving example of my conflict with my siblings, but this applies same with parents, right? Parents with parents, mother, father, children with parents. So that is step 4 clarification, where you brainstorm and come to understanding that this will not happen. And slowly moving back, so you have step 5 is resolution. So you have this understanding, you have brainstorm, you have solutions. Now come to some sort of resolution, that is step 5. So what you can do here is, it is very important, because people tend to take, people don't take seriously otherwise. So it is very important to mark, those conversation. It is always important to come up with some sort of, um, agreement through written, right? So resolution. So with resolution, you both agree that yes, I will let you know. For in my case, okay, I will let you know, sister, that whenever I am busy, I will get back to you. Because the issue would be like, if he left the plate alone, and just like that without washing, there will be flies. Or some people, some guests coming, seeing the dirt, or dishes like that. So I have a problem with that, right? And now my brother have some other problems like that. So when we come into conversation, understanding, and for me, if he says like, okay, so come to, after brainstorming, understanding that we have to do this. So for me, like coming into understanding that, I mean, clearly communication, right? Clearly communicating that ahead, that he won't be able to do certain things, certain that, and allowing. So that is effective communication. So for me, I need like effective communication and coordination. So if we have that, we put it in that way. And sometimes depending on the discussion, you can put out those resolution and write an agreement. So finally, step six is transformation. So when those tiny little things you are coming into understanding and resolving, you are transforming lives, because based on those conversation, it is, opening, or maybe creating a space that in the next issue you can come together, listen to each other, and maybe try to resolve, right? So it is difficult to get back to those issues, but there should be a certain level of effort where you sit, or maybe ask someone from your family or the person you are having issue with, ask them politely that this matter has to be resolved, and it is important for us to resolve, for us to grow, for us to live in peace, because in our day-to-day life, um, we will be interacting with each other. So when our issues are not resolved, we're not talking to each other. So just imagine, having a rubber band with you. The more you pull, right, the more you pull, it will break. So similarly, conflicts are like that, right? If you don't talk, you know you slowly started going away from each other, and too far and too broken, that it becomes difficult to um, come back. So it is very important with those, example of little issues in our life. It is important to ask politely, come see the importance of making peace and living with each other. So humans, we are social by nature. We cannot live alone, we cannot isolate. Sometimes we might say that I better be alone, but it is not. uh, mm, it is, in somewhere within, we need someone for shoulder to lean on. So, and family, which is the most important and primary institution, it is really important to mend relationships, to resolve issues and misunderstanding. So what you can do is put an effort to sit and listen to your family members so that you can come out with resolutions and transform your life. So it is not about, so step six, it comes to transformation. So transformation, sometimes those little things. So I don't feel happy about my brother not cleaning or washing his dish after meal, but then when we have this conversation, there are certain, we are setting certain set of principles as well as discipline. So both ways, we are sharing, we're coming to understanding. So we have to, come to some understanding that I have to do this and you have to do that. So in order to achieve these, we have both, have to play certain roles. So that things, started. And when we start changing, transformation takes place in our relationships. So today, in today's generation, we hardly have any good relationship with siblings. With technology coming at hand, we are busy with our own world, with our own phones, and then, with slightest of miscommunication that we have, we don't come together, we don't come to mend. But I think it is important, for transformation to happen, to come up with, go through the 5 step, that is introduction, clarification, rectification, resolution, and transformation. So finally, when changes are taking place in our life, it is always important to get back uh, to the issue, right? And that is step 7, evaluation. So it is always important to get back, um, to check on, whatever conflicts that have already happened, to come back, check in, check the agreement or the resolution or written resolution that you have put in. So what you can do is write the resolution, put up on the wall, and if you think things are not happening, you go back, revisit, evaluate, and if there is, certain things are not working, you can always go back, re-amend it. So so this is very effective. This is based on the research, and um, these steps, what Peace Channel practices. So those are the examples that I can give, where you can, follow in day-to-day life. So that is all about dialogue, managing, day-to-day conflicts in our life through dialogue. So to speak about this, we can go like a long day. So I'll just wind up my sharing from here, and I would like to, open up the floor to for any questions or further interaction that you want to have. So, about peace education, or the yeah. So I'm open. I'll keep the floor for the more interaction. So over to you, Chavi. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was surely encouraging and helpful for us. And we will definitely try to apply these 7 steps into our lives. Uh, Dear everyone, now it's time for a question hour, which is open to all. And therefore, I request you all to come forward and ask questions from our guest speaker on the concerned issue. You can also write your questions in a chat box below. Ma'am, I'm going to initiate this question hour. So my question is, ma'am, am I audible? Yeah. So ma'am, my question is, what made you choose this profession, and do you find any difference in yourself as a human being after involving into this profession?
Okay. uh, Profession, as in you mean as a social worker, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
As a peacemaker.
As a peacemaker. Okay, so actually, let me come back to peace education segment, right? So I don't know. I firstly, as a social worker, as a profession, you must have an idea that it is a academic as well as practice best perfection. So the social workers work with different communities, underprivileged, to enhance their life, their livelihood, from health to education, from policy to reformations. So there are different ways and methods of social work, and of course different areas. We have social work in psychiatry, social work in education, social work in livelihood, and you name it. There are many things. So speaking of social work, I think the institute where I studied, that is Northeast Institute of Social Sciences and Research. So it is it is a brainchild of Peace Channel. As I mentioned earlier, it's an NGO in Nagaland that has started, third millennium youth movement to promote peace, among youth, so that you would lead a peaceful life, lead a society in a peaceful way. So that was the idea of Peace Channel, and that's how peace education, as one of the main pillar of the organization, they started an institution. From the context, from the need of Nagaland, they started an MSW institute called Northeast Institute of Social Sciences and Research, and I think this is the only institute who have provided peace and conflict transformation studies, okay, in MSW in India. So we have like community development specialization. So MSW have different specialization like human resource, environment, um, labor, and whatnot. So there are many specialization, and in this institute they provide community development, youth development, and the third is peace and conflict transformation studies. So as I mentioned earlier, this peace and conflict transformation specialization have been, this is the only institute who is providing peace and conflict transformation studies in MSW. So this is how I started my peace um, peace building journey with this institute. So it has really helped me to change my mindset, my behavior, my way of looking at things, individuals, community, and uh, um, and internationally. So to say this education, peace education, the peace and conflict transformation studies has really helped me to explore the paradigm, because when I come back to minute identity, micro identity, I am I am Sumi Naga. Okay, this is just an example. So I am Sumi Naga, and I grew up in a small town. So in a small town, back then, technology, I mean, internet, social media wasn't that um, huge thing during that time. So I was segregated in small place. But I think this peace and conflict transformation studies has really helped me to understand socio-economic, about building relationship, about peace, about conflicts. Because what is conflict? Conflict is something that is manageable. But since it is something, it is indispensable, it is bound to happen, but it is manageable. And things, and we see in the world where conflicts are not managed, it is the final result is violence, right? Violence that are taking place. So it started with under iceberg. The tip of the ice is just above. That is the only small surface that we can see, but below the sea, below the surface, there are like um, a big or huge amount of ice that is underlying below the sea level, right? So even conflict is like that. So I think with these peace and conflict transformation studies have really helped me to look beyond the surface of iceberg. So it helped me to understand the root causes of certain issues, right? Starting from structural issues, cultural issues, right? Um, yeah, cultural issues. So, or conflicts, to put it that way. So that has really helped me to understand why things doesn't work our way or my thinking, right? So in simple words, it has really helped me to shift my mind to look at conflict as an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to have new knowledge, and most importantly, building relationships, mending relationships. So for me, that is that is one part of benefits of this course that I've taken. Now the other thing is building my career. I think this is important aspect that the participants would like to know. So you can be a researcher, you can be a facilitator, about you can be an activist, non-violent activist, reformer, you name it. You can work with CSRs, right? And so many things. You can work with United Nations organizations that are promoting peace building projects, peace education, you name it. So there are multiple careers that you can build on this career. And finally, yes, there are a lot of opportunities, as I mentioned, career-wise. You can build your career in the peace building. Of course, there are certain challenges, because peace building concept is a very new. Itself is very new, but then with the UN different UN resolution, and especially after 1992, after the declaration of I think, yeah, during after 1992, it have been widely used. And I think, not I think, but under United Nations, there are a lot of projects and fellowships that are coming up for the young change makers that want to impact life. So similarly, today today I'm a fellow of EU funded Ally Fellowship that is amplifying local leaders to promote to prevent violent extremism in Southeast Asia. So because of this, I think peace and conflict specialization, this has really helped me to get through this fellowship, and I'm learning with other 60 cohort from Sri Lanka, from Bangladesh, from Pakistan and India. We are 60 cohorts, and just imagine with 60 cohorts with different people from different culture, from different region, it gives us immense, experience and knowledge to learn this way. And together, young people coming together, we are, making changes, and we are, promoting and advocating for preventing violent extremism as well as building peace in the world. So these are the few examples that I can give. Otherwise, there are many ways and approaches where you can promote peace. Like there are some organizations, they are doing sports for development. They're promoting sports for development through, sports for development and promoting peace through sports. So those are few examples that I can give you. Yeah, if you have any questions, I will take it later.
Thank you, ma'am, for such a detailed answer, and it was surely informative for each one of us. Everybody, kindly, if you have any questions, kindly speak up, and you can also drop your questions in the chat box.
Am I audible?
Yes, Ayushi, you're audible.
Good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, my question is what to do if one person in the family is hesitant to converse and create disputes because of personal interests? What role can dialogues play in managing conflicts at that particular point?
So there is a challenge, I should say. I have personally felt because between families it becomes difficult, right? But as I say, when you have this conviction that you want to change your family, right? So either you can start with yourself, but it also depends on what kind of conflict that you are facing. Is it just verbal, right? Is it violence, right? So before it ends up in something unimaginable, you can start with a conversation, unless it is aggressive. If it is aggressive, you have to take help from someone else, right? From outside, from third person. So that is one thing. Okay, so if it is normal, or the example that I've given earlier, like small disagreements, right? Or arguments, you can always, look out for the person. So it depends on what conflict, with whom are you having. Is it with your mom? Is it with your dad, right? Or is it with your brother, right? If it is with your brother, you can, go share with your mom, your parents, your mom or your father, who is really close, and you think like they would understand your situation, right? And if it is with your mom, you sit with your older brother, right? Or your father, who will understand you, and maybe he or she will help you, sit together to address those issues and resolve it. So does it helps you?
Yes, ma'am, it did. I did understand the concept.
Guys, anyone have any questions? Ma'am, I'd go forward, and I have another question. What should we do if other person is not interested to communicate or resolve the problem?
Sorry, come again, Chavi.
Yes, what should one do if other person is not interested to communicate or resolve the problem?
If the other person is
Not interested to communicate or resolve the problem.
okay. So there are, certain set of challenges like that, depending on person to person. So if that person is not, listening to you, after you trying that, how it is important to resolve this issue, after you trying, he is not willing to see to resolve that conflict, that means the person have an issue. You have to seek professional, psychologist or therapist.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, my another question is conflicts generally arise in family and communities. It is in when it is misinterpreted by the receiver. What can be possible reason for misinterpretation?
Chavi, can you please repeat the question again?
Okay, yes, ma'am. Am I audible to you now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Conflicts generally arise in family and communities when it is misinterpreted by the receiver. What can be possible reason for misinterpretation?
So that is an interesting question. So let me ask you, why do you think misinterpretation happens, Chavi?
Ma'am, maybe because the receiver is not interested in knowing our views or thoughts about the topic.
So what do you think?
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, ma'am, I think maybe the receiver is not interested in knowing our answer. Like he or she doesn't want to, really listen what we are trying to say is.
Yes. So maybe just say you're sitting in a sitting down for a conversation, and like you mentioned, there are, misinterpretation of the about the communication or about the phrase that the person have already stated. So it happens, it's common, right? Many of the conversations or statement are misinterpreted, and that is apparent not just in day-to-day conversation or us sitting like this and having this conversation, but it's going beyond. Like you can see that on social medias how things are misinterpreted day to day life. But then since we're not talking about uh, social media, it's more about interpersonal, right? So misinterpretation, what we can do is, remember I mentioned about 7 steps, right? So not necessarily like you have to, we have 7 steps, so not necessarily that we have to stick to just one uh, stick to just one point. But sometimes if your dialogue process is not moving, as I mentioned, number 1 was introduction, 2 was discussion, 3 was clarification, right? So if discussion is not happening, you have to be patient, right? Patient, stay amount for some time. You need amount of time, not necessarily you have to rush to the next step. It's a process, right? Every step is a process. So if discussion has happened somehow, and then you have to clarify, right? So in those conversation, if I'm misquoting you, you can politely get back and say, I think you're misquoting me or misinterpreting, I mean to say this, right? I mean, so let me repeat again. Do you mind me repeating again? Those are the props you can use.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you,
So,
ma'am.
so,
Ma'am,
so was that your question, right? Is that your question? I
yes,
thought
ma'am.
you
Yes,
understood.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
It's clear. Ma'am, we
Okay.
have some other questions in the chat box. I'm reading it out. Uh, how to break the generation gap between our parents and us?
Uh, Okay, which one, Toby?
Ma'am, I have read the last one. How to
Okay.
break the generation gap.
Oh, this is this is interesting. This is interesting and challenging question. I have, individually faced myself. So sometimes we might be thinking that our parents or our grandparents, they are very old. They are very old-minded. Um, so I also had the perception, but it is not. They are right in their own ways, in their own experience. They have experience, they have immense knowledge, which we can acquire and which we can use from them, taken from them. And it is very important for us as a young people to listen to them, listen to the stories, listen to their experiences that they have, right? So what we can do, of course, I understand there are huge gap, huge generational gap, and it's beyond, solving in a day. But I think, like I mentioned earlier, and the topic itself of this conversation today, it starts with family. Once you start understanding your mom, your father, your dad, then you talk about generation gap. It starts with family. So have you ever tried to understand why your mom is asking you to do certain thing in a certain way, right? So you can always, and we simply react instead of thinking or taking it proactive. You react, right? So what is reactive? Just imagine Coca-Cola. Okay, we all drink Coca-Cola, right? And when we shake, and it's pressured, right? When it's a pressure, and when we call it reacts, right? It blasts out, right? Similarly, it all depends on how you take things. It's been assertive, it's been proactive, right? But then when you're mentally disturbed and not willing to listen to anybody, there is no way to, build those understandings. So similarly, when we don't like certain things about our parents, their notion or idea about things in a certain way, we tend to react. So what we can do rather is, instead of reactive, we cannot, our emotions we cannot control, but you can avoid, some, for a certain amount of time you can avoid, or maybe get back, and in a proactive and assertive way, and try to understand or gain more deeper why you're more why your mom or dad is thinking certain way, right? And then once you listen to them, their perspective, you start establishing your thoughts, your thought process, your emotions. I would say, mom, I understand. You can start the conversation. Maybe, mom, I understand, and you are right, because they are always right. Parents are always right. Our grandparents are always right. Our elders are always right. You say you're always right, but see, I'm facing this, that, and I have to do this and that. Put in a point wise, like putting it in a way that they will also understand. So without you reacting, yelling at your parents would not will not change anything. But then first calm yourself, understand what you need, and again understand what they want and what they are trying to convey. So maybe they want certain way and you need certain way, but when you have this conversation, there is always a meeting point, and those meeting point can be reached through conversation, through dialogue, right? So I think that is something I can share with you at the moment. I hope that helps whoever asked that question.
Yes, ma'am, it was surely helpful. Ma'am, we have another question in the chat box. Let me read it for you. Being a woman, how do you see yourself as a peace practitioner? And yes, also the challenges of being woman in peace building field in a man-dominating world?
Okay, this is another interesting topic. Well, researchers have shown that by nature women are, so it's not detailed, but some researchers uh, have shown that women have been actively participating in peace building resolutions, and by nature they are peacemakers. Okay, so I'm not sure whether I agree or disagree with the statement called women are naturally peace workers. But as we see generally and universally, when we look um, um, uh, on status of women in peace building, we have seen that historically we have seen that how women have taken actively, in peace building processes. All right, but then they are not recognized because of uh, because because of patriarchy, right? Because our society is purely patriarchal in nature. That is common, like except some few countries and places. So it is indeed a challenge to people take you seriously being a woman, right? Taken seriously about what you're saying, especially when it comes to decision making level. From my context, I won't say uh, you know but there are times like being a woman, you shouldn't say this, you shouldn't say that, who are you to say that? So those are common, but then as I've mentioned earlier, it's all about conviction, and it's all about the outcome. What do we want? We want peace, we want understanding, we want to build relationship. So any person, anyone, be it, and peace doesn't have any genders or differences, race or anything like that. Peace is universal. It doesn't have a color. We only peace. So ultimate is, I think, when you being a woman or anybody, when you have this conviction and you are clear about certain things, then of course there is a challenge. But these narratives of being, living in a patriarchy society, it shouldn't be a roadblock. Rather, it's a great challenge for all of us. I see like majority are women, but so it is a challenge for us to be more convicted and show that we are doing this and doing that, like Chavi, right? Um, so of course, there is challenges from especially when it comes to decision making process. There is a great challenge as a woman, right? Where our voices are hardly heard, and it is very important. Speaking of this, it is very important for more women to come up. Otherwise, if men start to take decisions, I think our world will, you know, and more in a disruptive way. But rather not just women leading, but it should be like inclusive, both men, women, everybody, third person coming together. But like I said earlier, it comes with conviction, patience, and sacrifice, I think, sometimes. So that is all I can say.
Thank you, ma'am, for such a beautiful answer. Ma'am, I think we have another answer in the chat box. Yeah, ma'am, if both parties agree to have dialogue mediated, a third person to resolve the conflict, and it fails and escalates to more a severe conflict, what process do we follow to solve the problem?
If it had the law mediated a third person to resolve the conflict and fails and escalates to more severe conflict, what process? Okay, so there are different ways of managing conflict, and I think this is beyond families, but there are other ways of managing conflict which are litigation, arbitrary, and whatnot. So maybe using, if it is beyond control, if it is beyond dialogue, I think, and if it is not working without mediation, I think the third person through legislation, through court. I think that is the best way. I mean, that is one of the process where you can, go for. And also, and also, we should not hurry. It is, why third parties are likely to likely to fail. Okay, third person mediation is likely to fail unless it is like high level of conflict, between beyond countries, unless it is international politics. I think, third parties coming to resolve conflict is likely to fail because. But one important thing to be mindful is always remember not to rush to come to the conclusion. Rather, it is a process, okay, in understanding the person, the situation, and you yourself. When dialogue process is taking place, sometimes you get an opportunity to reevaluate yourself, retrospect yourself. So like I said, it is, mediation, third person coming to resolve conflict is likely to fail unless it is political. So I would say, like, take it slow, try to understand the process, reevaluate, discuss more, brainstorm more, right? Take a break if it is required, take a break in between. But then you should not just, stretch away from that issue or conflict, but rather take a gap, but make sure you come closer step by step. So that is what about a third person.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, we have another question in the box.
Okay, so is it the question? Sometimes we think to share our conflict between our siblings with parents, but on the other hand, we think they also suffer with that, or they feel bad, but we also want to share with them. So what should we do in this situation? This is really interesting question. I know it is. I can imagine it is really difficult, many a times to address our feelings, our emotion, our issues with family members, especially when are going through the same. And dialogue, we call it heart of the dialogue. Heart of the dialogue, it means everybody's hurt um, or undergoing similar emotions where everybody is hurt. But then you have to find courage. Somebody have to find courage to stay on the heart of the dialogue to address it, because in the end we want to go on living, right? And when this is, our society is like our human body. If one is not functioning, one part of the body is ailing, the rest of the body feels the pain, right? So similarly, the same issue is with family. When your family members, one of the person is not feeling well, be it emotionally, mentally, all right, or spiritually, I mean, the whole family is suffering. And when one family is suffering, the society and the community are suffering. So it is very important to have this understanding. I think all of us should understand that whatever difficulties we have, we are a chain. We are one body, be it family or the community or society we are residing in. We are one body. So one body is ailing, the whole body ails. So this is something important we should understand, and maybe this understanding will help us to stay in the heart of the dialogue, right? Sometimes people might go rage speaking or sharing about their innermost feelings, right? So let it be. We all have to be patient, be more compassionate towards each other. So compassion is very important. So we have to start with individual, being compassionate about myself, then my family. So when you have this compassion and courage, I think it is difficult. I tell you, it is difficult. I can imagine to stay on heart of the conflict, but it is important. We have this idea that if it is not resolved here, then the rest of the society and the community will be hampered. And it is and it is come on that we all want to stay in life. We all want to have happy life. We all want to have our support system, our pillars standing with us. So the same questions go with every individuals here, right? Are you courageous enough? Are you ready to stay on the heart? Are you ready to resolve conflict? Then only you will be able to talk about like bringing peace or promoting peace in the community and in the society in general. So it's very difficult, like I mentioned earlier, but then we have to take this challenge because the ultimate is about peace, that we all want peace. So yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for answering it so patiently and kindly. Ayushi, you can speak up and ask your question.
Thank you, Chavi. Ma'am, actually, my question is, do you think women are more abled as leaders than men? Because we can observe in Scandinavian countries like Finland and Norway, the cabinet is literally brimming with women, and they're handling every situation very peacefully, and there is a lot of peace there as compared to the rest of the world, who is literally controlled by men, as you can see by the example of Russia and Ukraine. It is ongoing. So, do you think women are more capable than men as leaders and they should be given more chances than men? That's it, ma'am.
Thank you, Ayushi. That's an interesting question. For me personally, I don't know. I can't agree to like women are better leaders. I would rather put it this way that women are equally capable, not better, but equally capable as men, right? So yeah, it's just that historically, and researchers have proven that men are egoistic in nature, and this patriarchy has really you know the notion, not notion, but the culture of patriarchy has really hampered the growth of the society. But what we can do is, um, um, but what I believe is we are equally capable. It's just that we need to seek for an opportunity. We have to build ourselves, build a strength, courageous to to sit around with men. Because what happens is sometimes we being woman, that is the idea or construction that a society have given. So being a woman myself, and personally I have I have experienced it, thinking that men are better leaders, or and so there was a time, oftentimes as a woman I self sabotage, right? Self sabotage that I'm not capable. Men are better, right? I don't have that those physique. So comparison is a deadly disease. So as I've said earlier, I wouldn't say like men are better or women are better, but they are equally capable. It's just that we have to have those understanding, come together, shake hands, build a partnership and build the world into a peaceful world to live. So that is my idea of leadership.
Thank you, ma'am. You're too humble.
Thank you, Aishi.
Ma'am, I have another question. Uh, You use words like peace, patience, and compassion throughout your speeches, right? Does it involve any spiritual practices? Like, ma'am, does your involve with any spiritual practices in the career and like that?
Like, oh, like peace and compassion, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, okay. That is interesting. Because these things have happened to me. Like, okay, I think research have also proven this. Okay, but as I was growing up, what I first learned was violence. Right, there was violence in my home. There was violence in my locality, domestic violence. Family fighting family, community fighting community, and so the question of peace wasn't there in my head, right? But then rather I was confused why it was happening, being a small kid, right? So I grew up like that in violent environment. But then, the word peace, I think I wasn't aware of that. But then, I was tired of this violence, okay, until, as I shared earlier, until, I studied MSW, and where they were like providing peace and conflict transformation studies. And when we talk about compassion, again, it happened later in the process while I was practicing, peace, right? So compassion and peace is, you know, now critically looking at it, it should be an instinct, human instinct. But I don't know, maybe it lost somewhere. But peace and compassion is something I'm relearning all over again, and trying to apply in my day-to-day life and work. And I think the world needs more peace and compassion. And with compassionate heart, peace is possible with compassionate heart. So it goes hand in hand.
Agreed, ma'am. Very well said. Thank you, ma'am, for this amazing Q&A session. I think it was flawless on your part. Ma'am, please come forward and give your concluding notes on today's topic.
Okay. Okay. So I hope and believe, whoever, all the participants, whoever have attended this session, I would like to, first of all, I would like to thank um, I would like to thank the organizers. Secondly, best wishes to Project Preda. I hope and pray that this project reaches to thousands of young people again. So what we can come into common understanding is how peace education is important in the current scenario. So when we look in the government, the government of India, or the state, the government have not yet established peace, justice, and reconciliation. And I think we can come to the conclusion that peace education is very much important, because education is our right. And as Article 21A have rightly stated that everyone we know the right to education. I think every children have the right to get educated about peace education. Now we just spoke about compassion, about peace. So if it is learned in the early stage, I think children will be more compassionate. They will be more, living in peaceful cohesion, be it with multilingual, multinational, multi-regional, or any part of the world. We are multi-living, but I think this education gives us an opportunity, by these values, to learn about skills, new set of knowledge. And I think it will, create a better better peaceful society. Now UN have also declared, peace education, as I mentioned earlier, and we have SDG goals, number 4 and number 16. So I think number SDG 16 talks about peace, justice, and strong institutions. So I think I hope like this kind of this kind of platform will reach out to the concerned people and spread more awareness among young people that we have right to education, which is peace education that will nurture our mind, our heart, our soul, and we will be doing amazing work, and most importantly, transformative leaders that we are looking at. So ultimately, all of us should be aspiring to become transformative leaders to live in a peaceful society. So that is my concluding remark. Thank you, all of you, for patiently listening to me.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now, last but not the least, I'd like to have Miss Ayushi to give a vote of thanks to our guest speaker.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, everybody. It has been such an honor and delight to be a part of this magnanimous event. On the behalf of the organization, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed guest, Ms. Elino S. Chishi, social worker, peace practitioner, and associate consultant at NU Socio. Sincere thanks to the members of the team Preda who handled the event throughout. A wide round of applause and thanks to all the participants who made the event a memorable one. Finally, I would like to thank all of you present here for making the time to be with us today and helping us make this event a grand success. Thank you, one and all.
Uh, Thank you, ma'am, for
Thank
taking
you.
out your precious time. It was truly an honor to have you as a guest speaker in our webinar. I think we all have learned so much from you.
Thank you all. It was lovely having conversation with all of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Miss Alino.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
Thank
you,
you.
everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you.
Also, I would like to thank Spitzler Dee for giving me this great opportunity and the whole team Prerna. Lastly, thanks to all the attendees for making this event a success and staying patiently till the end. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Chavi, for being an amazing host. Thank you, everyone, for
Thank,
being up here.
Bye.
uh,
Thank you.
thank you, ma'am. Everyone, you may leave the meeting now.